Mike Bresnahan, Mike Trudell is handling things downtown at Crypto.com Arena. Not the way you want to start the postseason if you're the Lakers. Minnesota came in and took game one, winning by 22, 117-95. Look, a lot of excitement for LA coming into this one. They led by 7 after 1, but really after that second quarter started with a 10-2 Minnesota run, turned into a 38-20 second quarter. They never really looked back. How about this stat? Despite a 17-6 run to close out the third by LA, Minnesota won those second and third quarters 73-50. Big game. The momentum really changed in that second quarter for Minnesota. And look, it is just one game. Fortunately, it's a best-of-7 series, but this is disappointing, to say the least, to start.
Yeah, it's you can say it's only one game, but it's one game that Minnesota made a hell of a statement, and it set the tone. And this one game has given Minnesota a lot of confidence. They came into this game only, I think, one game short behind the Lakers. I think the Lakers won 50 games. They won 49. And their team is well-balanced. I thought Jaden tonight for them was exceptional. A 6'8" guy that plays with a 7-foot wingspan. Defense was exceptional on Luka and whoever he was on. He got 25 points. They took 41 threes tonight, and they hit a lot of them. They hit a lot of them uncontested. They're a really good defensive team. This team scared me when the Lakers drew them. You have to play your best games, or at least put forth your best efforts. You can't turn the ball over. You can't have defensive, inconsistencies. So many uncontested threes, helping and leaving threes open. JJ is going to have a lot to turn this around because Minnesota's they sniff it. They know that they're a good team. Gobert stayed in the game, protected the paint. So, yeah, and they really did a good job of attacking Reeves. They knew that one of those three had to be contained, so they went at Reeves a lot, mismatch, and with the size of Naz Reid and Jaden, those guys are 6'8", 6'9". They're tough. So when you throw Edwards in there, and they're going to be tough to deal with when you give them that one game at home. Now they have home court advantage. So yeah, JJ's going to have his work cut out to how he can turn this around. We needed that week off, to get rest. But sometimes that week off can, soften you up a little bit. And the Lakers playing at home in a playoff game just could not match the intensity and the strength and the grind that Minnesota was bringing, from that middle of that first quarter throughout the rest of the game. They just could not match it.
I think, too, big game, you say when you just see that lineup right there, you use the word sniff them out, and you talk about that week off. Minnesota also had that week off, and that the performances you saw from them across the board tonight was that they were sitting there listening to what everyone was saying, not giving them a chance in this series, and they came out. Talk about McDaniels. Talk about 25 points. He only missed 2 shots, 11 of 13 from the field, not to mention the defensive assignments that he took on himself. They really just rolled the Lakers plus 18 from 3, plus 19 on the fast break, plus 30 in bench production, plus 12 inside out, just owned in game one.
Allie, here's the big picture disappointment about today. This regular season started October 22nd, almost 6 months ago. Lakers worked hard, did what they had to do. They got the 3rd seed in the West, home court advantage in the first round. First game won in LA in 13 years, James, and the Lakers lost home court in one game. Of course, it's basketball. You can get it back. You got to win something in Minnesota, but I think just that second quarter was really a tough one for the Lakers. You can't lose any quarter by 18 in the playoff game and not expect some serious repercussions. And, Allie, you talk about Jaden McDaniels. No one will be surprised if he's NBA all-defense again. I'm not that surprised by his scoring tonight. He had a bunch of time right before and right after the All-Star break where a lot of guys were hurt, including Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo. And in the month of February, Jaden McDaniels averaged almost 19 points a game. So he has shown, this is new for him, an offensive aptitude, and it definitely came out tonight. This team shot the ball really well. That's the good news for the Lakers. Minnesota's a top 5 team in three-point accuracy in the regular season. They're not going to shoot 50% again from 3.
I hope not.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. So So that's the one good point for the Lakers. This team was red hot that they went up against. Lakers just couldn't match it.
You know what could certainly help that? If you apply more physicality, and I'm going to lean into kind of this narrative because I think JJ hit us all at the end of that third quarter in his interview with George Sedano. One, he said it in the pregame. Two keys to this one: execute and play hard. At the end of that third quarter, despite the 17-6 run, his quote was, "We finally played with an intensity level that warrants the playoffs." It was regular season to start. If there is a message coming in versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, you better be ready to match them physicality-wise.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it was a regular season game. I'd say it was like a preseason game, like in Ontario somewhere. Yeah, I mean, look, the playoffs is a whole different monster because you get one team for 7 games or whatever you're going to play them, and that's all you're focusing on. You're not in New York on Tuesday. You're not in Philly on Wednesday. You're not off in Thursday to be in Boston on Friday. That's not the way it works. You got one team, so you got the same nasty guys coming back at you, and they have confidence. Nas has confidence. Jaden, Dante, all of them feel like, you know, we can beat this team after this one game at home. So, yeah, they're not going to shoot. I don't think they're going to stay that hot. But if the Lakers don't match their physicality, I didn't think Rui, I'm just saying, I don't think he was there tonight. They kind of manhandled him as well, too. And that's not what you expect out of Rui. And you look at our plus-minus points, it's all negative. So, and I think that's just not because of missed shots, not because of, you know, scoring or anything like that. It's lack of effort, lack of intensity, lack of matching their effort and letting them, you know, knock you around and push you around. That's not what's going to take place in Game 2. JJ's got a big task to get them back on track defensively.
Yeah, your friend Byron Scott, when he was on here about a month and a half ago, he gave the Lakers role players the nickname the Dogs. Vanderbilt, Dorian Finney-Smith, Gabe Vincent. Combined, they had eight points tonight on offense. Really not much of an impact defensively. Maybe not enough of an impact defensively. We just showed a bunch of Minnesota threes in a highlight package there. A lot of them were uncontested. It goes back to exactly what you said, Allie. When JJ was talking to the ESPN sideline reporter in the second half, he said, "Hey, you know, we've got to give some effort and show up like it's a postseason and not the regular season." Speaking of JJ, let's hear from him. He's speaking with Mike Trudell in the media.
JJ, you went into the second quarter up 7. What did you see flip in the game at that point?
They were able to get the start of their run was transition and a second chance. And if you look sort of at, you know, the effort offense areas for them, they ended up with 25 fast break points, which that's always skewed by the counter, so it's more than that, and 23 second chance points. So, you know, the schematics wise in the half court, we'll take a look at everything and see what we want to tweak and all that. You know, that's hard to overcome, particularly when a team is shooting like they were shooting tonight.
With that said, that you got to go and look at it, you know, they hit 21 threes. How many of those did you feel like were ones that you kind of have to live with to wall up the paint versus ones that you would have liked to see contested differently?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go look back at every one, but I know a number of those were in transition and off offensive rebounds.
JJ, Luka was able to get off to such a good start scoring the basketball, but I think he finished with only a single assist. What were they doing to kind of limit his playmaking opportunities, and what did you see on that front when it came to the other guys, particularly early in the first half?
A lot of it was just, you know, the coverage scheme. They not really playing Gobert his normal minutes, and then some late reds, some late veers with him when he was in coverage. Then, you know, that they had their 1 through 5 switching group in. So just in terms of like the 2 on the basketball, the blitzes, the 4 on 3s, just not there. I mean, I think that was expected on our side. But again, you know, we'll look at the film and see what we can do better.
JJ, so much of your, to your right, so much of your mantra this year has been effort defensively. It just wasn't there at the beginning of the second and the beginning of the third. Any thoughts on why that was, or were they doing something different to offset it?
No, I don't. Again, they're a great opponent. They're one of the best teams in basketball. There's, I think, it's not to say our guys weren't like ready to withstand like a playoff level basketball game. We were mentally ready. I thought our spirit was right. I thought even when they made runs, our huddles were great. You know, the communication was great. You know, I'm not sure physically we were ready, if that makes sense. And really, when they started playing with a lot of thrust and physicality, like we just didn't respond immediately to that. And then that stretch from the start of the second through, you know, 4 or 5 minutes to go in the third, you know, we lost that stretch by 34. So, you know, that's a blowout.
You mentioned the physicality all week as we discussed with you this series. We knew that they're going to have a size advantage in certain matchups. How did you feel like that affected Austin Reeves early on, and do you feel like he was able to find some counters to deal with that as the game went on?
Yeah, I thought he did a good job as the game went on. You know, again, there's sometimes the early onslaught from Luka, it's just like easy offense, and he's making shots and getting downhill. You know, the first possession he drives on Gobert, and then he's hitting threes, and you know, that's really good offense for us. And some of the other guys may not touch the ball for stretches. And I thought there wasn't necessarily like forced actions. You know, he missed a little bunny at the paint. We missed LeBron missed 2 open threes. We had a Rui open 3. That was all at the end of the first, start of the second. And look, it's just natural again. Sometimes the missed shots can affect the defense. There was a couple misses at the rim that then led to those transition buckets where, you know, we had a man down, you know, them playing 5-on-4 or 3-on-2. So we can be a lot better on offense and defense.
JJ, similarly with LeBron, he got off to a slow start before it felt like he found his footing more so in the second half. What did you see with him and how they were defending him?
You know, they obviously switching his pick and rolls with Gobert. And I thought we got a few good stuff just trying to get Conley involved with him on the ball. Probably got to do a better job of mixing in some off-ball actions for LeBron. There was a few plays, you know, we had sort of called or drawn up, and they went zone nearly every time we ran an ATO. So we'll do better with that.
16 points in the third quarter. He's speaking with Mike.
Austin, ask JJ this same question, but what did you see in that second quarter to start it, where the game kind of flipped in Minnesota's direction after you guys came out and had a somewhat typical first quarter for you?
You know, they went on a run to start the quarter, and you know, we couldn't find a way to, you know, get a bucket. And felt like that affected us on both ends. So, you know, you're not going to be perfect in a game. You got to figure out ways to play through those situations. And, you know, to be honest, I have to be better at the start of the quarter, which I wasn't. And it resulted in them taking a lead and kind of just having all the momentum from there.
It's a team that you hadn't seen